he's got that Gator in him. That's what I would tell you.
Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports. I'm your host of the evening show, Pete Walker. And today we're going to be discussing, obviously Billy had his media day yesterday, so we're going to be going over that. The Carroll injury. Swamp Kings documentary is coming out on Tuesday. And I got a little tidbit there that just really tickled my fancy this morning when I found out about it. That fires me up. And I've also got a little short story we're going to pull from it, from Nick Delatorre's article on 3. So incredible stuff there. Really pumped for that. And then we're going to talk about depth chart concerns. I know the Utah fans, the Utes, they've been in the dimensions this past week, running their mouth a little bit. Rightfully so. They like to have some fun, and I appreciate that. I appreciate a good time. And I don't mind it. Holly in the Discord was also saying, I don't know where your confidence is coming from. You're lacking a little depth in the O-line, right? Everybody has their concerns about the Florida Gators and what's going on with our team. So I figured I address those concerns a little bit until, the 2-week timeline we have here until football actually starts, and all my, defending can stop because it'll speak for itself. Just to kind of give you guys a timeline here, on tonight at 7:30, we'll have our NFL show. I'm trying to think about something I can do for the Swamp Kings release, like a release watch party or something. I don't know. I'm looking to have a Utah podcast on the show this upcoming Wednesday to really fire things up, because I don't want them on the Wednesday before the game. I kind of want that to be a last little minute thing of us, of the boys hanging out. Seems reasonable, right? Seems fair enough. And that's the game plan with that, right? So that Wednesday will just be the boys and just a typical kind of just hype show, getting ready for that big game on the day following. But the Monday prior to that Wednesday, the 28th, I will be on a Utah show. So jam-packed here at High Top Sports with a lot going on with us being all over the place. Steve and Chad was on Double Fries and Handy just the other day. So if you guys haven't seen that out, go check that out. But happy to have all of you here. Muddy Waters, Brett Blackburn, Music Too Loud, Ben, what's going on, man? RN, Ed DePriest, Harrison Sanchez, Tony, Evan Bay says F Utah. I love it. Cole Embry, what's going on, man? How we doing? All the way from Utah, baby. Ty Tendell, a little Sunday action. Austin Waldron says LFG, let's go, boys. Let's go. Trash looked good. Looked a little better. We're going to talk about that on Sunday Night Show, but that's definitely looked better. Still up in the air, though, as for who's the starter is, in my opinion. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. First order of business, though, let's talk about it. Obviously, Billy spoke yesterday to the team, to the media, had a few things to go over. Jack Miller, damaged goods, but he's got tendonitis in the arm, hasn't played since the 11th. That was 9 days ago. Remind you, he was out for the first half of the year last year because his stomach hurt, right? Which may or may have not caused Anthony to play conservative. We don't know. It'll be something that'll come out in the documentary of Swamp Kings 2.0 in 15 years. So we'll know whether or not that had a factor for Anthony Richardson, but he's definitely sliding on the depth chart. We kind of been hinting that Max is going to be the number 2 guy. I know that their walk-on has been getting more reps due to the absence of Jack Miller. So I think Jack has seen his time here at Florida, boys. I don't think we're going to see the likes of Jack Miller hit the football field once again. And that's just what it is. It's the merch show. And Max Brown show, which we've been hinting towards anyways, which I love. Billy mentioned the camp has been great thus far, took a step further in the ball being competitive and more consistency, which is just a good thing. The biggest thing, too, and again, for the takeaways for the day, is his praise for the freshmen has been adamant this entire time. Constantly hear about how good the freshmen have been and how they're going to have to step up, which we have talked about on the show this entire time, is that, look, that's going to be a big factor. I think the freshmen are going to do a great job. I think the freshmen are extremely talented, but they're going to have to step up. And I think there's an advantage. I found out that the team will be traveling to Utah this coming Wednesday, which I think is massive. Great idea. I don't remember how early Utah got down here to Florida, but I would think a week time would allow you to adjust to the time change, for one. That's a big thing. The altitude that, Utah's have been on Twitter yelling at me about, and just the atmosphere in general, right? Getting into a rhythm in a new place, allowing yourself to adapt, getting there a week and a half before. Love that. Again, I would love to know how early Utah got to Florida. I know leaving, they had some issues. I know it's kind of a hellhole for them leaving. And look, I think we all hate that it's on a Thursday night. I know I do. But at the same time, with it being such a pivotal game and having to travel out west, which is, not like a Florida team to go out that far and do those kinds of things, to be on a Thursday, it's like playing Thursday Night Football. You get an extra time. And look, it's the first game of the year. So it's not like we have a short week leading up to it and then a long week, right? I think it's going to benefit us having this game on Thursday to get prepared for McNeese State. And although, look, like you're like, oh, it's McNeese State, who cares? We've essentially gave ourselves a longer time for McNeese to be prepared for that, and maybe even start dipping into that Tennessee game come week 3. So love that it is on Thursday. Thinking about it now long term, the benefits that it will come from being on. You guys are already arguing about FSU, LSU on Thursday. So love seeing that there. Next let's go back to our little takeaway here, is the depth. So obviously Cam Carroll with a season-ending injury, our second player to actually, let's talk about injuries a part of camp first. So Cam Carroll losing, ending his season alongside Justice Boone. So 2 players there that we have now dropped to injuries in this camp. Justice Boone definitely being a more pivotal drop, but Cam Carroll has been having a hell of a camp. I'm going to quit talking about football players on the show, because on the Thursday night call-in show, which if you're not calling in on the call-in shows, you are missing out on a hell of a time, because it's basically Gators after dark. We get dirty, okay? We have a good time on the show for sure, and I can't wait for the call-in shows during the season. I think it's going to be a ruckus, as it should be. But I was talking about Cam Carroll, and people just, the hype that was coming out about just him looking like a solidified third-string back, and how great that room was going to be. And look, Trayon Webb still doing great things. Losing Cam sucks. I know it's a third string and we'll move on, but I just was excited to see what they're going to be able to do with 3 backs back there. I was watching the Utah-Florida game the other day, and again, when Naquan started the game off as a starter, then Montrell came in, had some big runs, Trevor had some big runs, but they split it between the 3 of them. Now, could that have caused the other 2 not to get warmed up? Maybe. But I think if we would have had a healthier back out, like let's scratch Naquan, you put Cam Carroll on there. I mean, it's getting dangerous, and I think Trayon's going to be phenomenal. But Cam Carroll runs like a freaking 2007 or 2010 Alabama back, just straight bulldozing guys. So I hate to see this happen for him as a senior. Absolutely brutal to see that happen and him go down, and it sucks. And so the questions, I mean, Billy. People on Twitter have been going out about it. Why are we practicing? What are we doing? Why are we allowing these guys to get hurt? They were kind of grilling them on the questions. Like, hey, like in the NFL, let me read this the question here, because I thought it was kind of interesting. Guy asked about him limiting practice before week 1, kind of like in the NFL where guys, they sit out for the preseason. For example, Trevor Lawrence didn't even play a snap yesterday. Neither did Anthony. Anthony Richardson didn't play yesterday. Now, I think those guys will probably play week 3 because it's the game before, or the week before, the last game before they get on the football field. And Billy kind of was, I was thinking about it, I was like, bro, Billy, to be able to keep us cool under those kind of things, because somebody asks me dumb questions like that, I'm like, bro, do you want to coach? You want me to coach? You know what I mean? Like, if we don't practice hard enough and you guys aren't ready, then you guys are going to bitch because we didn't practice hard enough and they weren't prepared for this season. So there's never pleasing anybody, but this is just part of it. Injuries are part of it. How I was thinking about it last night to explain it, right? Everything's going to happen. Everything's in a sense planned out. Injuries are part of the game. And if you don't know that, hey, an injury is going to happen at some point during the season, right? If you know that it's going to happen, you just don't know when. Obviously, they don't know that. But let's just say, because it's like, let's say it's already written in stone. You would limit yourself knowing that you could possibly get injured. So you can't go into each day, each practice, each week thinking that injury is a possibility. That's just part of the game. The moment that you sign that paper and Pop Warner, you know that something could happen at any given point. You could step off the stairs the wrong way and tweak your knee. So everyone getting worked up about it is ridiculous. It is what it is. You got to hit hard. You got to practice. You got to do all those things. You got to go 100 miles an hour. To be honest with you, I feel like if it could be that they're not going hard enough because they are trying to preserve themselves or what have you to not get injured. I don't know. I'm guessing here, but people give them crap for practicing too hard or too much beforehand is just absurd, in my opinion. Be sure to drop a like, boys and girls. Got over 100 people here on this Sunday afternoon. Happy Sunday to you. God bless. Let's see if we can crank up those likes and get it going here for this Sunday afternoon, boys. Good to see you. And next we have, again, depth. That is obviously a big question mark. How does it compare to last season? Tons of questions, and we're going to break that down a little bit more. I have some insight and my thoughts and feelings on that after watching the game the other day, and then just kind of looking over things over, right? Looking everything over. Sugar Show, baby, the GOAT. That was a hell of a fight last night. Look, says O-line depth, Lindell has stepped up and been impressive, right? And look, he went back to praising the freshman, Najee Harris. He routed off basically every freshman you could think of. Gene, Bryce Thornton, all these guys that have just stepped up and done a good job. He feels that, again, compared to last year, that he's confident in an SEC 2-deep team. Believes we have more depth, but there's still some positions that don't. So he feels that he did a great job with the portal, bringing a few guys in, fixing that need. And so look at that, got me thinking, right? Because I was watching the game from last year the other day, and I was looking again at who started, etc. So I got to think, let's look at the depth chart. Let's see what's going on with offensive line, because even Holly in our Discord was like, your offensive line's a little bit thinner. And look, we lost a first-round draft pick in Osiris Torrance. I know he didn't go first round. That's my point. First-round draft pick in Osiris Torrance. Ethan White, I meant to look that up before the show. I know he went to USC, but I don't think he's still there. I know he transferred, but I thought he also didn't transfer. Yeah, he won't transfer to USC. So I don't know where he's at currently. And I thought that was the guy that transferred that didn't. And the reason I bring Ethan White up, because let's take a look at the offensive line of last year. Okay? Left tackle Richard, who also went into the draft with the Osiris Torrance. Then Josh Braun was behind him, who also left. Left guard, Ethan White, Richard Leonard, who is still there. Richard Leonard, we still have Richard Leonard, by the way. Then the center, Kingsley Igakwan, who is still there, mind you, hasn't been playing. Jake Slaughter was behind him, and I think Big Rod's going to be behind him now. At right guard, Osiris Torrance and Jalen Farmer. Farmer is still there, obviously, as a freshman last year. And then right tackle, Austin Barber, redshirt freshman, 6'6", 312. I think he's 6'8", but whatever. Then Cameron Waits, who has an injury that he's dealing with. So that was the starting offensive line, which the offensive line had a ton of praise last year. Okay? So let's look at what we lost. Ethan White, Torrance, and Richard, right? What we replaced it with, though, and what we've got working with now, Austin Barber's still there. Another year under his belt. Love that. Richard Linney, left guard. Another year under his belt. Love that. Backed up by Najee Harris. Austin Barber backed up by Lindell, who Billy was just mentioning has stepped up in his presence away. And then we've got at right guard, Micah Mazuka, backed up by Jalen Farmer. So at right guard there, we've got Mazuka filling in for Osiris Torrance. Now, Osiris Torrance is a massive loss. I mean, you're not going to just plug and play and replace that. But if we're going to replace him with somebody, I love that it's somebody with a ton of experience. He's a junior. So it's like it's just a freshman coming in and sliding in. This guy's got some skill, and hopefully we'll have the ability, and under a camp under Rob Sell and the boys, will really find his rhythm and find his groove and be able to excel in that position, even after having that injury and having a little bit of a setback. And then at right tackle, Damian George from Alabama, which is what Austin Barber played last year. So he's probably filling in for left tackle because Barber switched to left tackle, which was for Richard. So essentially, Barber's filling in for Garage and then on left tackle, and Damian is filling in for Austin Barber. Now, the depth, we can talk about that, but look at the depth here now. I mean, we with the guys that we went and got on the transfer portal, feel very good about that. So again, the reason for bringing these things up is, okay, Farmer transferred. The reason for bringing that up is, again, I'm actually pretty excited seeing this. I think we've seen some concerns with the spring game on offensive line, but I will mention that this past scrimmage, the offensive line did get some praise, that they looked much better than they have in previous scrimmages and on practice notes. They are looking better. And mind you, Kingsley has, every time I feel like we've had a scrimmage, Kingsley has not played. Big Rod has played and has had trouble snapping the ball, which he has been working on. There's been clips of him working, which I love seeing that. But again, I know it's not going to be the same offensive line, but I don't feel like it's a complete 180, a complete facelift. I think Billy did a good job of going into the portal and plugging in with guys from the portal that fit his need of what's needed. Again, Damian George from Alabama said that there's the same amount of talent here than there is at Alabama. Played at Alabama, started at Alabama, came here. Saban drafted or recruited this young man for a reason. So it's not like we're getting a slouch to replace that left tackle position. Right tackle position. So that should kind of if you're having any kind of nerves, calm the nerves a little bit for the offensive line depth concerns. Godspeed, my boy. What's going on, man? All right. Seeing you guys argue. Make sure you guys drop a like, show some love. And let's go to the D-line. Because again, I want to look at defensive line. So defensive end, Princely. Obviously, we know what he's going to do. He's still there. He was backed up by Justice Boone, which we already know is a massive loss. Nose tackle had Jalen Lee and Desmond Watson, which we know Desmond really took over that role last year. Cameron Jackson is going to be in that position, followed by Desmond Watson. So in my opinion, defensive end and nose tackle, the depth definitely with losing Justice Boone, because now backing Princely is going to be Kelby Collins and TJ Searcy, Sapp, and all those guys. Pyburn, but he's going to be on the other side. So Cam Jackson at nose tackle, followed by Desmond Watts. To me, that line it's got a little bit better just from those two positions. Okay, defensive tackle. All right, defensive. Where am I looking at? So defensive tackle, I know we had Javon Dexter last year. Obviously, we've lost Javon Dexter, which is going to be a big hole to fill. But this year, we've got Chris McKellen, who's going to be stepping up as well. He was a freshman last year. Sorry, I'm trying to look at both depth charts here. Followed by Kalen Banks, who was also a transfer. Okay, so I think Javon's going to be definitely a hard one to replace, but that's kind of is what it is. The jack position, we got Jack Pyburn. I love that. Then Bryce Capers. In the middle linebacker, we've been talking about the linebacker room as well. And I was looking into the depth chart position. Let me change this really quick here for you boys, because we have linebacker concerns as well. Caleb Banks will be a surprise. Yeah. Look, obviously losing Ventrell Miller, which we've talked time and time again on the show, is a big loss. Scooby Williams, Derek Wingo, all still there. Okay. Amari Burney, is no longer there. And Shamar James is still there. So they don't have Ventrell in the starting lineup, the one that I'm looking for from last year, because Ventrell was out. Maybe whatever I'm pulling from was that game. So let's just take a look at this linebacker position, this linebacker room of last year. They don't even have Ventrell in it, but they have Scooby Williams, who we still have, Derek Wingo, who we still have, Mari Burney, who we no longer have, which I think is a blessing more than it is a curse. Then Shamar James, who is healthy, ready to go, on top of Nunnery, Trahada Mitchell, and who am I missing? Deuce Spurlock as well. So that linebacker room, in my opinion, has increased tremendously from last year. Ventrell Miller, huge loss. I understand that. But love the guys that are coming in and love the opportunity for these guys coming in. So I think those were probably the biggest ones for concerns. I think wide receiver room is pretty wide open for it to be taken for the grabs. I think the running back room is going to be a battle with Etienne and Montrell in a good way, with Treon just being able to kind of do what Etienne did last year, sit back, let the two big dogs figure it out, and maybe come in for those big burst runs as a third running back. If you go look at that game one for Trevor, where he was the third string, he averaged 12 yards a carry. Just came with a burst of speed and rock and rolled down the field. So we'll see how that plays out. BB, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show, big guy. Why concerned about the linebackers? I'm not concerned about the linebackers. I'm simply just because I'm seeing the noise on Twitter and everyone trying to kind of poke again, because we're only bringing back 59% of the defense. Part of that is the linebacker room. Part of that is defensive line room, right? So that's what I was addressing for you guys there. Let's see here. Every day I Google Utah's quarterback situation and call my buddy who's played quarterback at Utah 2 years ago. It's no joke how big of an impact Cam Rising is to that team. Ooh, muddy with the insider juice there, boys. Gotta love that. Tebow's Tebow, and you got Tennessee being better than people think. I don't think so, man. I think it was lightning in the bottle, but we'll see. We will definitely we'll see how that plays out. But look, man, I think I'm gonna go back to the notes really quick here. Let's see if I have anything else before we move on to our next topic of discussion. Oh yeah, Adam Malek will be the starting kicker over Trace Mack for kicks. That's kind of a buzzkill. I thought Trace Mack was definitely going to be the guy. And he spoke to Ricky. Says, I mean, again, he played, when we had him on the show, he played with an injury for most of the year. He's healthy. He's lean, dialed in. He's got a point to prove. He said that on our show because, on his NFL scout book or scouting report, there was things that they felt that, he wasn't great at and he felt he was great at. So part of his reason for coming back was to prove that, look, I can do those things. So really excited what he's able to do. I feel like there was, again, watching the game from last year, there's a lot of times where Anthony missed out on toss, just give him a little dump-off pass. I know where the Utah fans are coming from and says, hey, we're losing Anthony. And when you watch that game, we all have stated this over and over and over again. Yes, he rushed for a shit ton. A lot of it wasn't designed runs from watching the game. At least, I watched like the first 3 quarters. Were there just some design runs? 100%. Like, don't get it twisted. But a lot of it was not being able to make a decision quick enough to get the ball off, and he is such an athletic freak that he rolls out, and he's just hard to get down. And so he runs for 5, 6, 7, 8 yards every single time because he was just he's fast. But the RPO wasn't as dominant, I think, as maybe the Utah fans are remembering. And don't forget, Graham Mertz has clocks at 22 miles an hour, but he has some speed under him. So again, I'm fired up. I think I've stated that enough for my excitement for this game, but it's just been fun to watch the Utah Utes get involved this year. Milton is cheek. Yeah, I'm not a believer in Milton, man. I think he'll be good. I think he'll be in for a rude awakening. We'll see. It's all talking season right now. Man, talking away here, boys. All right, so last little bit here before we wrap this thing up. So going over Billy's press conference, went over the depth concerns, is Swamp Kings coming out Tuesday. So Nick Del Toro wrote a great article on On3 here, and they got early access to it. I couldn't believe when I saw this. I go, you got to be kidding me. I'm not going to read the whole damn article, obviously, because I'm not going to rip these guys off, but obviously if you want to, you can go check it out on On3, exclusive content from Nick Del Toro. But it's a 4-hour runtime, which just fires me up because my biggest concern after watching the first 2 documentaries with Jake Paul and Johnny Manziel was it's not going to be enough. Johnny only got an hour and a half. I was like, we needed 3 hours. This is exactly what I said. 3.5 hours. I feel like I left that needing more. And I thought going into it that Swamp Kings was going to be the same thing. Boy, was I wrong. A 4-part series is exactly what we need to get us to the next to get us to the football season. I hope they release 1 a day. Just string us along. You know what I mean? They probably won't, but I love that it's going to be 4 hours. In his article, he has 4 little stories that he pulled from it, and they're all really good. They're all really, really good. I was going to just give you one, and I don't know which one to give you because they're just all really good. I'll give you the kind of the basic one. He tells a little story about signing Tim Tebow, and again, I was young when this happened, so that during that recruiting process, I don't recall it. But just a little tidbit is Paul Feinbaum says that everyone thought he was going to Alabama. And let me read this little thing here from Urban. Urban gets a phone call. This is what Urban says. He says, hey, coach, I just want to let you know that I've decided to. And the phone goes dead. I started punching the dashboard. I really thought we lost him. That's the quote from Urban Meyer about Tim Tebow. So, it's just going to give us the full start to finish recruiting Tebow, all these things. It has a story about Brandon Seiler and just kind of his relationship with his parents. I think we're going to be impressed. The fact now that I know it's longer than an hour and a half really excites me for what it could be. It scares me on what we're also going to be finding out, but I'm telling you, it needed to be longer than an hour and a half, and I'm glad they did. Because again, you're covering a 3-year, 4 years time span, which again, the Manziel was a year and a half, 2 years, right? Give or take. They kind of followed into, I guess it was a 3-year stint too, but I don't know. There's just so much here to unpack. And I love it. I want a Last Dance type of documentary for Swamp Kings. Bro, you could easily make this thing, I feel like, an 8-part series. And you're just, I mean, The Last Dance is one of the greatest docs of all time, I feel like. Just storytelling and what you found out. And again, they waited a good amount of time where people were kind of, ready to talk about it, but also still had feelings about it. So we'll see how that plays out. But I love it. How about the egg question? It was a great question, Haley. Great question. Billy has to do better on the play calling. You know what, Daniel? We're not here with your negativity. T-Bone. It's getting Netflix to watch Swamp Kings is definitely worth it. Yeah, 4 hours. It better be lit. That's what, dude. When I read that, I literally looked over at my wife. I was like, "Babe, buckle up, okay? It's gonna be nuts." I love it. I would love. So I'm a nerd. I like film and I like creating and making like little short stories and vlogs and whatnot. And the art of making stuff is actually really cool. I would love to understand just the thought process of this. Like, talk to the director and the producers. Like, what? So walk me through this, right? What was the game plan going into this doco? Was it always going to be a 4-part series, or was it, hey, we have to go? What are you trying to uncover? What are you hoping to unpack? Do you have an idea of some of the rumors and thoughts and stories? How do you know so-and-so's gonna give you this? Like, I would love just to watch. You could make a behind the scenes of how this was made, and I would tune in for that. You know what I mean? Like, incredible stuff. I feel like there's so many moving pieces, and you're doing journalism investigation work. And again, so much time has passed that people are more likely to spill the beans more than ever before, because people know that they love the energy. So we will see. They say Billy controls everything. It would be stupid to assume that doesn't include his play calling. Yeah, I believe he's definitely playing. Would you rather have Urban for 4 years with Billy's team, or Billy for 4 years with Urban's team? Damn. Would you rather have Urban for 4 years with Billy's team, or Billy for 4 years with Urban's team? Shit. Oh my gosh. What a question. What a question. I would take Billy with that Urban's team. I don't know. That team was something special. That's kind of where I'm like connected to that team. And I feel like me wanting that team again is overriding. Because I know like everyone has their feelings about Urban, but Urban was a dog. Urban easy. Urban with this Billy's team. Billy with Urban's. Billy with Urban. I love it. Good question. Good question. That was fun. Urban. I love it. You know what Urban could have done with AR? Oh, jeez. Could you imagine? That is a good point. With that team, with last year's team, who knows what Urban could have done? There's a good story in here, too, from Nick Doe. So I'm not going to take it because I don't want to take everything away from the doc either. I think we should probably just go watch it. And look, I'm hoping that Nick didn't take the 4 best stories either, because if they are, that would be kind of... I would be like, well, if this is the best that we're getting. These are really cool stories. But I was like, I hope there's more. The article is he's very vague, which I feel like he should too. The 4 that he kind of showed just shows the intensity and just how much passion was behind everything that the team's rolling out. Again, I don't want to ruin it for anybody else. There's no point for me to read it. I think I was just more excited about it being a 4-part series versus a 1-part series. You know what I mean? Urban had that dog in him, though. He did, bro. He did, bro. I love hearing like just the clips. Hey, I'm gonna. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pull up the Netflix. Let's watch the trailer together. 'Cause that dropped the other day, and I think we should watch that together. A little teaser. I love the quote of like him or Brandon Spikes and Major Wright both said that he had us training like we were going to war. Like, why do we get away from that? You know what I mean? Like, when I hear that, I go, okay, so we know that's a good thing. And now that we've got Brandon Spikes there, it's like, hey, Brandon, show them like what's up. Show them that we're. I think even hearing just Tebow, like I didn't think it was gonna be that exciting to hear from Tebow, but to hear him kind of I think relive and just because again hearing him talk of like it was everything. Somebody who's kind of pretty. I mean, he's competitive, but he's kind of really taken a step back. I feel like from the limelight. I wonder if has to do with just the pressure that came from playing at Florida. I don't know. I'm guessing here, right? We'll see. But man, how does that not fire you up, dude? Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, me too, Q. I'm pumped, dude. No police reports, bro. There's some stuff coming out, man. Yeah, hey boys, Connor in our personal league drafted Anthony Richardson. That's QB1. Now, good. I think, look, ton of upside, but I wouldn't put all my eggs in that basket. That's all. Man. Whew. Gator fans are going to go berserk for this stuff, dude, as they should. It's going to be a good time. I don't think there's I know some people are kind of concerned of what's going to come out. I don't think it's I don't know. I don't think if it was bad, I feel like Florida has more control than we think. You know what I mean? But we'll see. Yeah, Bama will get a documentary. They might get one though. You think Saban once he retires, he's definitely gonna get like a run for sure. But it's not as cool as gonna be Swamp Kings, that's for sure. Man, oh man, oh man. Well, boys and girls, you guys be good. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you as always for coming in here, hanging out, showing some love. You guys be good, be safe. Have a happy Sunday. Be tuned back in at 7:35 for our Sunday NFL show. Hope to see you guys there. But again, appreciate you guys hopping by. Football, bro, we're getting closer, boys. We're getting closer. I can smell it. It's in the air. Love you guys. Be good. Boogie, boogie, boogie.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think